Everything you need to know about products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on CL 650.
Maybe an appropriate tune for here in Vancouver if we're waiting for the big one. Of course, this is StrataLife, part of Experts on Call here on CL 650. George Gordon here in the studio with me, Dan O'Hearn from Key Pacific Property Management. Also in studio, Yang Fei, Operations Manager at Strata Engineering, and Caleb Donald, Project Manager at CanStar Restorations. We're going to get to the mailbag in just a moment, but Caleb, I thought I would talk to you just a little bit about what's involved in a cleanup. And I'm not talking about, mopping up a little bit of water. Often, especially if you're the one unit that's been down below where the water's all been flowing, and if it's maybe an older unit, a whole bunch more involved than what there used to be.
Yeah, thanks. It's in the older units now, WorkSafe BC mandates that that's coming, that all restoration companies are going to have to follow, is that we have to get an industrial hygienist in to test for asbestos, to test for lead. Once we maybe open up a wall if need be, and we find mold, what happens at that point? So we have to then do some abatement, and that's a conversation we have with the property manager about that sort of thing, because it's not something that anybody can do. We have to suit up, we have to put the right set protection up and dispose of it properly as well. So it's not a very simple procedure, and it does extend the life of the claim a little bit, but it does have to happen to make sure that everybody's safe.
Now, we talk about water, and in terms of when water starts flowing, it causes problems further down in units below. In a fire, I assume, am I correct to assume that you have smoke damage that goes up, a lot more units that are going to be involved in a case like that?
Possibly, because smoke gets everywhere, you do have to, in a sense, chase it. There's different companies that can come in to make it very simple, to deodorize, to help with the odor. But really, you have to find out that you followed all that smoke for the most part to any porous materials. And then repairing it, you don't want to repair it too soon if there might be still a smell that you maybe missed something. So as we do our repairs, whether it be drywall or the carpentry, we have to make sure that we've done our job to make sure that the consumer or the homeowner or the property manager is happy.
We talked about this sounds like complicated. Let's say I've had a major problem, and Dan has said, be in really good speaking terms with your parents-in-law or whoever is going to house you for the next 2, maybe 3 weeks. If you think it's going to be a week, you said 3-4 times that length of time. What about when we're talking about the cost of restoration of a unit? What are we talking about in? You don't solve it for $1,000 anymore.
No, and things are more, building products that are in there now are becoming more expensive. So there's a cost to that, to not only remove but also to repair, whether it be flooring, whether it be new drywall. Maybe they have to take down some structural portion of the building. There's a cost to that, and it always varies between job and job. But with different aspects of painting, now that everybody has Benjamin Moore paint apparently in the house, so that's an extra cost. Things like that. So there are different aspects. It's not as simple as it used to be. And like Dan said, if you think it's going to be a week, expect it to be 3 at least.
All right. And getting back, Yang, to your point about items that are going to wear out naturally, if that wallboard cost you $10 a square foot when it was installed, boy, wait till you see what it costs today. And so that's why that engineering report is so important.
Exactly. And also not only that, because of your inflated costs, right? So you will have to be prepared for it too. Like the time value of money is also very important. You see, so with regards to the depreciation report and also the future engineering reports, it really helps people plan, right? Instead of having people to pay when things are due, right? So basically, you will have more chance to get the interest or return on investment to offset the replacement costs, right? If it's planned well. So
I would think in areas, common areas and those places that have got swimming pools, especially, there's always a lot of costs. You should know that at some point you've got to replace piping.
That's right.
Well, we've talked about the possibilities of damages and what to do and what might be covered, how long you got to stay with mom and dad-in-law, and so on. But let's talk about those new buildings. All right, you move in, you're covered with warranty. You got nothing to worry about. Maybe,
Well, yeah.
but needs to be reviewed. Let's talk about that.
That's right, absolutely. You may think that you've got nothing to nothing to worry about because you don't see any of the defects. By the time you see it, your warranty coverage may have been over. So that's also why with the 15-month 2510 warranty, right, that is mandatory for most stratas, it is often essential to engage a professional, qualified professional to do a warranty and review to review for the defects that are actually covered within those kind of warranties. So for instance, within a 15-month warranty, if I come in to inspect a building on a 15-month warranty and I see all the paint defects, unpainted cuts, or caulking deficiencies or premature failure, I would note them down and I would submit them to the warranty provider and also for the builder so that they could come back to address it. If you miss that 15-month mark, by the time you get to the 2-year warranty, finishes are not going to be covered. So any paint deficiencies or any kind of unpainted cuts and whatnot, they won't be covered, and painting is the first line of defense against water ingress. So what you have is you're going to have a less than expected useful life for your paint on your building. And that leads to future costs because you have to end up replacing the paint sooner than later, and also facing the risk of water ingress and water damage.
All right. So I want to come back to the next levels of the warranty and cost versus investment on this.
Yes.
But Dan, I want to ask you, because in a new building, all right, you move in, this has got to be something that the individual unit owner must have to jump upon or be on calling the management company about, because you may not have had time to form your strata council yet to look at these things. What should you be doing if you're moving into a new unit like that?
Well, I mean, we have to be organized. First of all, this corporation is responsible only for the common area. So the stuff that's within your strata lot, that's between you and the builder. And sometimes councils will get together and try to help coordinate some of those deficiencies. Yeah. But you have to keep track, and as you see things that are a concern and issue, write it down and be organized that way.
Right. All right. So let's move into the 2-year. What's basically covered in that area?
For the 2-year warranty, it is mechanical components and also materials and labors warranty. That's what you're talking about, and conveying equipment and also anything that's going to be moving. So mechanical, electrical. So, but within the 2-year, it doesn't cover finishes. So 15-month is going to cover all finishes and most of the components, right, in the common properties. So warranty coverage for the components decrease as time increases. By the time you get to your 5-year and your 10-year, 5-year covers building envelope components, right? And 10-year covers structural. So we actually came into a situation when we're doing our 10-year warranty review that we saw a structural defect. But the warranty company responded saying that this structural defect is due to an unattended defect in the building envelope, and they are not going to cover it. So basically, the strata would have to dish out their own money to fix this problem. And that's also why it is essential for these warranty reviews to be completed by qualified professionals.
Okay, let's talk about the cost of an engineer's report on a building, and what would the range be on that?
The range really depends on, for an engineering investigation, because it's very specific to a problem that we are called in for. So it's going to be dependent on the extent of the problem, right? For a depreciation report, it's a global report, just like a warranty review as well. So for depreciation reports, the amount could range anywhere from $1,500 to over $10,000, because it's going to depend on the type of building, whether it's a low-rise, high-rise. It's going to be dependent upon the kind of components that's in the buildings. Do they have very complex mechanical, electrical systems, right? Do they have specialty equipment such as pools, right? It's actually dependent on a variety of factors to be accounted for within the depreciation report.
But it's a matter of whether you figure, pay me now, pay me later. We keep coming back to that.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the mailbag while we still have some time here. We're going to vote at our next AGM. This question comes from Alexander in Richmond, and whether to get our depreciation report. Won't that just show the flaws in our building and hurt property values? I think it goes back to a bit of what we we're just talking about.
Yes. So now, the honest answer is it might, right? But it also might not, because it's not necessarily directly proportional to your property value. Right?
Yeah.
And it's very hard to put a price tag on that. Right? But one thing is for certain, if you don't have a depreciation report, you are concealing information. That's how the owners or that's how the prospective buyers are going to see it. And in a lot of cases where you have got some defects and you don't have a depreciation report, you'll run into problems when funding for it through a mortgage as well. The banks won't be willing to lend in some cases.
Lovely. Our next question from Stephanie in Duncan, BC. There's a section of our strata property at the rear that is only accessible from our unit. Does this mean the area is limited common property and available for me to use exclusively? Dan?
It's highly likely, but the definitive answer comes from the strata plan. You have to have a look at it, and then your backyard area might say LCP, which means limited common property, which means it's an exclusive use, but you have an obligation to maintain, and the corporation is going to do capital improvements. But you have to look at the strata plan to determine that.
Ask, don't assume.
Mm-hmm.
One last question. There is an owner in our strata who has not been cleaning up after the dog. I've warned them several times. Can we fine them for this disgusting practice? You don't run into this a lot, I bet. No, eh?
No. So I guess the quick answer is probably, but you need to go to your bylaws, and the bylaws governs the use of the common property, and usually there's a bylaw that's going to restrict that. So you have to receive a complaint about this, notify the individual of this complaint, and have an opportunity to rectify. They may want to even meet with council to discuss this, and then the council can assess the situation and assess fines if necessary.
All right. Well, we are out of time for this round, but I know that you gentlemen will be back with more information on StrataLife because it never stops changing.
No, it doesn't.
If you're looking for information, you can hear this entire show on podcast. You can just go to you can go to CIAL650.com. And, of course, you can always go to the StrataLife folks who can answer any of your questions, and that is questions@strata.life.
Yeah.
I'm George Gordon. This is Experts on Call on CIAL 650.